Hey, Rick Sayes here. Welcome to another episode of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, where I hope to provide entertaining conversations with retailers, brand managers, athletes, executives, and others in the outdoor biz to get their stories, tips, strategies, productivity tricks, and ideas that you can apply and take your career or business to the next level. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. I've used Audible for many years now. I'm on the road a lot, and Audible allows me to enjoy the great books I discover or are recommended by friends. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/theoutdoorbizpodcast. There are over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Start your 30-day free trial with Audible today. Hey guys, today I'm speaking with Alden Mills, speaker, entrepreneur, former Navy SEAL, and author of Be Unstoppable. Welcome to the show, Alden.
Thank you, Rick. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, great to chat with you. So I started your book on Audible. I was driving down here to my folks' house a few weeks ago and started the other day. Sounds like it's great. I got through the first chapter. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to the rest. One question I have, though, in your book you mentioned you were good at rowing as a kid. How did you discover rowing versus running or soccer or something else?
You know, I discovered rowing because I pretty much discovered every other sport that I wasn't good at. You know, everything that involved a ball, i.e. hand-eye coordination, just didn't seem to get this kid to score any points, at least for his team.
Okay.
And, you know, I running was not a real fit for me. I'm a big guy. I was a big kid then, and the idea of sitting down and going backwards for long periods of time, like that kind of worked. And so, you know, how did I discover it? I still to this day remember it. My parents were driving me around. I ended up going to boarding school, and I was driving up the Housatonic River, and I came around a corner and I saw these two long, sleek boats in the water, and I'd grown up by the water, and I was like, that's it.
That's cool.
It literally was like an aha moment.
Wow, interesting.
That I think I can do.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like a pretty. It's obviously very physical, and it looks like one of those Zen things, right? You get in there and just kind of just row. You know, put your head down and go.
It's a sport of suffer.
Well, I think most sports are that way. If you play them at any competent level, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and. So you rode, were you a young kid when you discovered this? Boarding school? Were you
I was in ninth grade.
Okay,
I was
yeah.
in ninth grade and rode through high school, and rowing ended up getting me an invitation to the Naval Academy. And I rode through all 4 years at the Naval Academy.
Awesome. That's great. And so what inspired you to become a SEAL?
Believe it or not, rowing.
Huh.
By that point, I had 8 years of rowing under my belt, or I should say under my bottom. And because you graduate from the Naval Academy, you have to give back to your country a minimum of 5 years of active duty service. And when you start looking at all the different career paths you could do, one really stuck out for me. And this wasn't a senior epiphany. I mean, I got introduced to the SEAL team back as a freshman at the academy. And you could just see the correlation between, okay, you've got 8 guys in a boat.
Right.
There's 8 guys in a squad. You know, you're not sitting down and going backwards. You're sitting on a tube of a inflatable boat and you're paddling forward. But, you know, there are a lot of similarities. And probably the biggest similarity is the idea that in SEAL team, there is no high scorer or top shooter. I mean, everybody is about getting those blades, the proverbial blades in the water at the same time.
Yeah,
right. And
teamwork,
I think rowing's kind of one of the most intense, single-minded, team-focused sport there is.
Yeah. I was a river guide for years. I can definitely attest to that. I didn't get into the rowing the big oar boats. I was a paddle captain. I loved having 4 or 5, 6 guys on a paddle team. And you're right. I mean, if you had some really good, strong guys that were followed instructions and worked as a team, boy, you could put that boat anywhere. It's amazing.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so I've read a bunch of books about the SEALs. A lot of guys are writing books lately. And the thing that most impressed me and inspires me is the leadership skills. The training must be fabulous for you guys. Can you tell us anything about that?
I can. The SEAL training, what's wonderful about it is it's not at all what I think a lot of people romanticize about. There's this, I've got 4 young boys, and they're like, yeah, Dad, when did you get the super sniper weapon or this laser beam that, melts people? And you're like, guys, you don't get any of that in SEAL training. The thing you do get is to learn to control the few things in life that we can control. And training is really broken down into developing what they call your weapons platform. And your weapons platform in SEAL team is really about your mindset, your mental capability, your emotional capability, and your physical capability. And if you look at those 3, like I'd consider those your 3 paddles. The trick is to learn how to get all 3 of those paddles to paddle together, to row together. And that means that when you're having this conversation that they force in SEAL training between your head, your mental, and your emotional, your heart, they're trying to understand how much you're willing to sacrifice to become a SEAL. And if you think about anything in life, whether it's starting your own business or you're up on a mountain deciding if you can make it or not, you're deciding how much you're willing to give to accomplish whatever that task is. And that's where it starts with their leadership training, is learning to lead yourself.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. If you can't control yourself, what do they say on the airplanes? Put your oxygen mask on first, right? You got to take care of yourself. That's awesome. And did you guys so once you got that, pretty much under control, did you also then do some work as team? You must have done a lot of teamwork.
You do a lot of teamwork, and the whole focus on the teamwork in the beginning, I think even coming out of the Naval Academy, you kind of get misled on what leadership's all about. There's this romantic concept of George Patton, right? General Patton standing on the on the tank treads and giving this inspiring speech. And at the end of the day, what you're really doing as a leader is building an environment where everybody feels like they've got each other's back. And they're building a sense and a level of care that is so powerful that it really becomes love between you and your fellow teammates. And that when you go into battle, whatever that is, that these guys have their backs. So you're only thinking about what's in front of you.
Yeah, very familial, it sounds like. You guys are just, anchored together. It's amazing. Yeah.
Which I'd argue any top performing team has a very similar baseline of building this care-based environment.
And they support one another, and it's regardless of whether the guy's having a good day or bad day. If he makes a mistake, you pick him up. You see it in sports a lot too. Yeah, I love that.
It's getting people to go from a selfish mindset to a selfless mindset, right? To giving more to the team.
Right. That's great. And you must talk a lot about that in some of your presentations, your speaking and.
I do.
Yeah.
I do talk about it. And, people will ask me to come in because they want to understand the correlation between what they taught us in SEAL training and then how I applied it in building the companies that I've built.
And you guys, SEALs always seem to be on. And I'm not sure if it's a SEAL phrase. Somebody said embrace the suck, so to speak. And, our folks in the outdoor biz deal with a little bit of that. You're having a bad quarter, you're having a bad day, sales are down, you're not super motivated. Do you have any hacks or tricks for folks to get through that?
I do. I think the embrace the suck is maybe that's a newer phrase.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I got that. I've heard that. Much. I don't know where I heard that.
Some guys like that. I agree. You do have to embrace the suck, but the idea about being always on is the mindset of all in all the time. And how do you pick yourself up when, you've failed again and again, or all your headwinds seem against you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the hack that I've always used, and it came about at a young age when I got diagnosed with asthma, was, and this was my mom, and she would just pull me aside and just read me the riot act about my limits are up to me. And the hack that I started coming up with was what I call making an outcome movie. And the outcome movies that I ended up relying on, in particular going through different elements of SEAL training like Hell Week, were understanding the consequences or the outcomes of both the positive and the negative of either succeeding or failing. So in the case of some dark moments in Hell Week, the outcome movie that I usually made was not a positive one. It was the negative one. I seem to find more power in the negative component.
I get that.
Everyone talks about the positive piece of, visualize yourself getting the diploma or earning the trophy or the bonus. But it was the negative one that inspired me the most. And the negative one for me was creating a movie in my head where I would visualize myself going back to my hometown and hearing people that really weren't my friends saying, I told you so. I knew you wouldn't make it. Quitter. And that was kind of level one. And then when things, when I was like, that sucks. I don't want to deal with that. But what made it worse was then I visualized my parents, people that I really cared about in my life, having to kind of say, my son quit, but we're still proud of him. And I'd be like, oh God,
I let him down.
I don't want to. Right.
Yeah.
And then the final deepest level, again, going to even someone I care about even more. Of course, I wasn't married. I didn't have kids, but I wanted to be in the future. I visualized at some point later in life telling my future kids, this is why Dad quit. And don't you do what I did. And I created these movies, and I would create these movies not just for kind of physical dark days, but also the mental and emotional dark days.
Right.
Which I'll tell you, I had a lot of those after SEAL Team. I was civilian and starting a business. So
interesting.
That's my hack, creating outcome movies.
I like it. Yeah, I think I'm motivated by that negativity too. I just don't want to fail because I don't want to let anybody down around me. It's amazing. I love that. So you do have a number of businesses. I think I read too over 40 patents. What's your most successful business or most inspirational? What do you have the most? What do you have the most fun at?
The one that I had by far the most success with was I invented the perfect push-up.
Okay, yeah, I saw that.
So a lot of people are familiar with the perfect push-up, and then the whole perfect lineup with perfect pull-up and perfect sit-up and ab carver, and we had about 100 products.
Wow, awesome! Wow.
But now today we're working on a security company called Pentagon Alarm and a pet snack company called Presidio Pet.
Oh, cool. Awesome. All kind of pets or a specific kind of pet?
You know what? Right. It started off with dogs. My first love was my black Labrador, my first child.
I love labs. We used to raise labs when I was a kid. They're so awesome.
Oh, are they just the best?
Oh, they're the greatest, yeah.
So we created a product for her because she has hip dysplasia and an earlier lab, we had all kinds of problems, took her leg off, and I'm like, I am not going through a serious surgery again. So we created this little product called Fetch Fuel, which is basically glucosamine gravy that you squirt on kibble.
Oh.
That gives her all the joint juice she needs, and she enjoys eating it instead of stuffing a pill down her throat.
Perfect.
And that's how it started
about
3 years ago.
Cool. Well, we'll put a link to that in the show notes. That's great. And how about telling our audience about your most recent adventure? You been anywhere exciting lately?
I've had a couple of great ones. My most recent one was a small team of my buddies. We did the Emmons route on Mount Rainier.
Oh, excellent.
So that was the backside. We had done disappointment cleaver a couple years prior. And we did that in July.
Oh, cool.
We stayed on the glacier for, was it 3 nights, 4 nights?
Nice. Yeah, I did disappointment cleaver, years ago when I was with Jansport. Yeah, it's awesome. It's the hardest thing I've ever done.
You know what? That's a hard climb. The Emmons route is, you're carrying more weight and you're staying out on tents but it's a more enjoyable pace. I mean, that disappointment cleaver, it's a much faster pace.
It's like climbing a ladder all day, up and then back down. And my knees are wrecked from years of abuse. And it's just, oh my God, I got back down that thing and think, you know what? I think I'm done. I'm never going to do that again. It was really tough, but it was worth it. It was very fun. Beautiful mountain to climb.
It's a great one. Yeah. I love Mount Rainier.
Yeah,
there's so much going on there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What was your other one? You said you were on another
Mount Elbrus.
Oh yeah, great.
I climbed that one last summer. And we did the Emmons route because we're training for Denali in May.
Okay, gotcha. Are you gonna do all the 7 summits? Is that one of your goals?
Not sure yet.
Yeah.
We started doing this as a small group. I got a couple of other buddies of mine. We're in a local charity here in San Francisco, and we started really climbing in earnest. And I'd really call ourselves weekend warriors when we were 40. And we did like the Mountaineers route on Whitney, and we skied up and down Shasta, and we've done that kind of thing. And then we just like, let's try this one. And then one thing led to another. And I moved over to Europe for a couple of years, and Elbrus came calling, and that was an enjoyable hike.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty mountain. Yeah. What other outdoor activities do you participate in? Do you still row? Still paddle anything at all?
I have not been paddling for a while, although my son just started.
Oh, cool.
But I love boating.
Yep.
We've got a small boat. Until I do that, I'm a mountain biker. I'm a open ocean swimmer.
Oh, wow.
And anything snowboard related with my boys and water related, I'm involved with.
Excellent. That keeps you. It must be fun to have boys to go with you too, right? I mean, or any kids to go with you. That's got to be exciting.
Especially on a powder day, right? And you're teaching the boys. My youngest, Yum Yum, is going, Dad, it's a pow day. I'm like, there we go.
Nice.
I love that.
Right on. Yep, that's awesome.
The shreds in your yard, boys.
That's great. How old are they?
They are 8, 10,
cool.
12, and 14.
Wow. You got a basketball team there.
Yeah.
That's great. And how about any nonprofit work that you do?
As I mentioned earlier, the boys that I go hike with, we are involved in a group called the Guardsmen, which has no military affiliation whatsoever, but it's a group dedicated here in the Bay Area to send at-risk youth to camp and to school.
Oh.
So we are, as an example for this Denali hike, we're going to do the hike and dedicate a fundraising campaign to endow the scholarship program for our inner city youth that we grab in like 3rd grade.
Wow.
And take them all the way through high school.
That's
and by
awesome.
that point, they usually get qualified for some type of college funding.
That's great. Bay Area exclusive?
That is a Bay Area exclusive.
That's
and
awesome.
The other thing that I'm very active with my wife is we're big believers in public school. Unfortunately here, at least in our neck of the woods, the school needs community funding to maintain the basics. So we're active with the community in raising funds for art and PE and computer labs. And, it's unfortunate that we have to do that, but it does bring the community together.
Yeah, it gives you an opportunity to give back. Yeah, and I'm sure you have some suggestions or advice for the outdoor industry folks looking to grow their career. I read some of your blog posts, and it's very, very inspiring.
Well, thank you. I do, and the biggest thing that I have for folks when they ask, I end up coaching some people from time to time, and they'll say, hey, how do I get into this seat, or how do I go up the corporate ladder? And the thing that I really tell them about is first connecting with being their authentic self, what they really are inspired about. And when you go out into the corporate world or the entrepreneurial world, whatever world that you want to go hike and play in, it really comes down to your energy, your attitude, your inspiration and passion. There's plenty of apps out there to teach you everything under the sun,
right.
But there isn't anything that's going to teach you about really being yourself and having the guts to say, hey, this is what I really love. I mean, You're a great example, Rick. Here's somebody that's gone out and created podcasts. You have a love for photography. You've got your hands in all kinds of different things. And if somebody is like, hey, I love the outdoor space and I'm not sure what I want to do next, and I know this probably isn't the job for me, well, I can tell you right now, you better be an absolute rock star and give it all you have and be all in all the time in the job you have. So when the next opportunity comes along, you've created an option to make your pivot and go to the next place.
Yep,
but you have to create those options through the excellence of your current work.
Yep, that's right. That's great. That's a lot of folks have said similar things, and you always have to realize, when you get into any industry like that, you're not going to start off as the sales manager. You're just not going to walk in the door and be the top dog. And even though you may have a lower level job, it's going to get you experience and connections. And if you're not doing the best that you can do at that job, you may not get to the job that you want. So no, that's great advice. Yeah, I love that.
I would argue you definitely aren't going to get it.
Yeah.
Because if you think for some reason like, oh, well, I'll be better when I get to the one I really like, and I'm just going to be average here. Like, people are going to look at it and go like, well, that's your brand.
Right.
You're average.
Right.
I'm not interested in average at this place.
Yeah, that's right. That's very true. Yeah. And do you have any daily routines you do to keep your sanity, or hell, you meditate? I'm sure you exercise a lot. You must walk your dog every day.
Oh, yes.
Or play with her somehow.
I have a couple of different routines. And they vary. I try and do 5 days a week of exercise, in particular about an hour of intense exercise. And that starts around 5:45 in the morning, 5:30. Depending on weather and timing of the sunrise, I like to do I call it a meditative walk. And the dog comes along, but usually it's just it's quiet time with no electronics on my body.
I like it.
And I like greeting the sun.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, that's great. Do you do something similar in the evening?
In the evening, electronics shut down. I'll tell you, this is one of the things I actually make a real comment on doing. Somebody introduced me to this concept a long time ago called the trouble tree. And maybe it was a book, but I don't remember. It's not my idea. It's one thing I want to say, but I use it and it's helpful. And that is when I come home and if I've got some things that are bothering me at work, or it just hasn't gone the right way, I really want to be on for my family. And I find I have this little tree. Yeah, I just kind of rub my hands on it and say, hey, I'm hanging my troubles here. I'm not letting them come into the house.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that's okay.
And be present for my family.
Yeah. That's a good one. That is a book or something. I remember reading about that or hearing about that somewhere else. Yeah. That's a good one. Leave it all outside.
I don't know how long the book is, but that's what I use. I leave it on that tree.
Yeah.
And I'll pick it up in the morning. And it's hard to do, but if you practice it enough and you focus on those smiling little faces when you walk in, it's good to be present.
Yeah, that's right. That's great. Yeah. And do you have any favorite books, or do you give books as gifts? I'll bet you do.
I do.
Yeah.
I mean, not to sound self-serving, I end up giving a fair amount of Be Unstoppable books out.
Yeah, it's great. I just started that too, so we'll link to that in the show notes, folks. That's so far I'm loving it.
But the other book that I give, and it's kind of a total right turn for some people, but I think it's good and healthy for them. It's called The Diamond Cutter.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one.
And The Diamond Cutter is about America's first Tibetan master monk, and how they send him back into the industry that he left to become a monk. And that industry was diamond sales in the belly of New York City.
Wow.
And the big takeaway of that is talking about, they'll talk about karma. Some people may hear of it as quantum mechanics, but it's about, putting good energy out into the world and how karma really works. I enjoy it.
Yeah,
and
that sounds like a good one.
Pretty much end up reading it every year.
Oh, good. Yeah, well, we'll link to that too. That's awesome. And how about some of your favorite apps? We've all got crazy apps these days.
I don't have a lot of apps.
Oh, okay.
I use a couple. I use the Polar Heart Rate Bluetooth monitor app.
Oh.
I use that even when I'm climbing. I like kind of tracking on my heart rate for different training things.
Right.
And then I do a lot of listening to NPR, How I Built This with Guy Raz.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah. Those guys have some great podcasts.
I think he does a phenomenal job.
Yeah, there's so many good ones there. I mean, you could spend your whole day. I listen to a bunch of podcasts too, but I usually squeeze an NPR one in there every once in a while. Or I like Freakonomics. That's the one I listen to a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one, yeah. Do you have anything you want to ask or say to our audience? Or ask of our audience?
I would just, if I had people there looking at me, I would just encourage people that what they're doing and what they do for the outdoor space. I love the outdoor space. I think more and more we need the outdoor space in our lives as we get trapped in these little silicone screens that we have carrying all around our pockets.
Yeah, I was telling you, I interviewed Steve Barker, the founder of Eagle Creek, this morning. His daughter has dubbed them cubicle refugees.
Yeah. And I think the thing that will really, I just encourage everybody who's in the industry, and I go to outdoor retailer, or have been many years, and I love going to outdoor retailer.
Yeah.
Is keep your authenticity, keep that uniqueness, and show how much you care about whatever your line of work is, because no one else can replicate that. And that is not, that can't be Amazoned. Amazon will help you with things, but they can't take and replicate the passion, the uniqueness, the authenticity of what you're doing in your business, regardless of what that business is. And if you can really focus on helping your customer, that customer will come back and help you.
Yeah, no, that's great advice, particularly now the outdoor retail side of the world. Well, all retail is, struggling on a lot of fronts, but I think outdoor in particular, we kind of have lost our way, in my opinion, a lot of folks on that authenticity. We used to be great at inspiring people and showing them how to go out and have fun and be safe, and we've kind of gotten caught up in just selling stuff, and you just nailed it. Let's get back to that authenticity. That's great advice. Thank you.
I tell you that it will never go away.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And when we started our business, it was about showing people how much we cared about their health. And by doing that, sometimes we lost our way too, by the way. I'm not saying this was a perfect journey with perfect fitness, but when you always came back to what really mattered most, being involved with the environment, giving back to the environment, and getting people to really enjoy and push their own inner boundaries when they're outside, and connecting with this great blue marble. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
That's where it's all about. That's where it's at. Yep, that's great advice. And are you planning to go to OR in Denver this winter?
I would love to go.
Yeah.
I left the company that got me my ticket every year for the last many years. I got to see what I can do about getting the ticket. As I mentioned, I just came back from a sabbatical over in Europe for 2 years.
Oh, gotcha. So, okay. So you're getting plugged back in.
Yeah. So the last time it was in Salt Lake City, and now it's in Denver.
Yeah. Just
another great place.
Another great place. Yeah. It just moved this last summer. We had a big march on the town thanking Salt Lake for the years of great service and kind of telling their local government that, hey guys, come on, you got to do better for public lands. So But we're excited about Denver. It's going to be exciting. Yeah. Well, I hope to.
Oh, it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's an awesome show. You've been there. You've experienced the energy.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. And where can people find you? Email, Twitter. Obviously, we'll link to your website and all the things on that.
Yeah, I really think that, you can get to LinkedIn from me, my Twitter and Facebook, but my website's, to me, where it's all about.
Okay.
Alden-mills.com.
Awesome.
ALDEN-mills.com.
Excellent. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. Well, thanks, Alden. It's been great chatting with you. Hopefully I'll see you at an OR show soon.
I look forward to it, and I'll keep looking at your photography, Rick.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And please keep doing your inspiring work.
You got it.
We need more people inspired about the outdoor industry.
You got it. Will do. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Alden Mills. You can find him at alden-mills.com. That's ALDEN-MILLS.com. You'll find links to everything we discussed in the show notes at theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/episodes/051. I'd be stoked if you shared your favorite episodes on the socials, and until next time, thank you so much for listening. If you want more of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, you can subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher, or go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com, where you find all the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at The Outdoor Biz Podcast, Twitter at Rick_Saez, that's SAEZ, and my email is rick@theoutdoorbizpodcast.com. Thanks for listening and all the support, and a huge shout out to all my guests, and until next time, be sure to make time to get outside.